Get ready, because what you're about to hear isn't just another newspaper headline. It's not just another distant conflict. No, what's happening right now, this very instant in the Middle East, is something that's making many people ask themselves, are the pages of an ancient book opening before our very eyes? That's right. We turn on the TV, scroll through our phone feeds, and there it is, the spine-chilling headline, Iran attacks Israel. The tension is palpable, missiles fly, and the world holds its breath. But for a gigantic number of people around the globe, this isn't just any event. It's not just another squabble between nations. For them, and perhaps for you, after today, this news might be much deeper. We're talking about something that touches the very core of our history, our faith, and even our destiny. We're talking about the Bible. Have you ever stopped to think that some things happening today, right before us, seem to have been written thousands of years ago? That certain words, as old as time, seem to fit perfectly with the events of last week, or today, or even the next few minutes? That's exactly what's unfolding now. And the burning question, the one that makes your heart race, that makes you lean forward so as not to miss a single detail, is, has the prophecy of Gog and Magog already begun? Yes, you heard right. Gog and Magog. If you've never heard of them, don't worry. But if you have, you know the weight those names carry. It's a story that comes from the depths of biblical histories, a narrative as ancient as it is fascinating, describing an epic confrontation, a clash that would change everything. And the stage for the story? Guess what? It's right there on that small strip of land we call Israel. Think with me. On one side, Israel, a country whose history intertwines with the very foundation of civilization, a sacred place for billions of people. On the other, Iran, a rising regional power with its own ambitions and rhetoric that often points directly at Israel. The tension between these two is like a pressure cooker that has been simmering for decades. But now, that pot seems to have reached its boiling point. And why is this so important? Why does this attack, this escalation, make so many people raise the alarm, not just politically but spiritually? Because the Bible, this book found on the shelves of millions of homes, studied in every corner of the world, speaks exactly of this. It describes a time of great upheavals, of nations turning against Israel, of events that would culminate in something many call the end times. It's not fiction. It's not a fairy tale. It's a series of prophecies that detail geopolitical movements, unexpected alliances, and a specific enemy that would rise for a final confrontation. And when we look at the map, at the news, at the words of leaders, it's almost impossible not to see certain parallels. It's almost as if the script has already been written, and we are watching another chapter unfold. The Bible is clear in pointing to Israel as the center of these prophecies. It is the world's prophetic clock. Some say anything that happens to Israel, any attack, any serious threat, is seen by many as an unequivocal sign that something bigger is underway. And when a country like Iran, with its military strength and strategic geographical position, directly enters the scene against Israel, the echo of biblical histories becomes almost deafening. So, when the question arises, Iran attacks Israel, has the prophecy of Gog and Magog already begun? It's not mere curiosity. It's a question laden with faith, fear, hope, and a relentless search for meaning amidst the chaos. It's an attempt to connect the dots between what was promised millennia ago and what we are experiencing now. Imagine the mind of someone who has studied these texts for years. Every news item coming from the Middle East is a piece of the puzzle. And now, with Iran against Israel, the piece seems to fit in a way rarely seen before. The descriptions of Gog and his alliances, of a movement of nations against the unwalled land of Israel, seem terrifyingly real. It's no wonder the topic is in every conversation, on every video channel and podcast. This isn't just a history or geopolitics lesson. It's an invitation to look at the world with different eyes, with a lens that many believe to be the oldest and most accurate of all, the Bible. It not only tells us the past, for many, it reveals the future. And today's events in the Middle East, for millions of people, are not a distant future. They are a future knocking at our door. With every explosion, every siren sounding in Israel, every inflamed rhetoric from Iran, the question gains more strength. Are we witnessing the prelude to something much larger, a confrontation predicted for the end times? Has the countdown, if one exists, truly begun? Many wonder, how does Gog, mentioned in the Bible, relate to today's Iran? Are the nations allied with Gog, also described in the prophecies, the same ones we see aligning with Iran today? These are questions that provoke, leading to research, heated debate, and a search for answers that go far beyond international politics. They touch the core of human faith and hope, the complexity of the situation, the intricate web of alliances and enmities in the Middle East, only makes the prophecies even more intriguing. It's as if an ancient script has come to life, with modern actors playing roles written centuries ago. And Israel, the main actor, is once again center stage, under the world's spotlight, and under the scrutiny of those seeking signs of the end times. It's not about creating panic, but about inviting reflection, to understand why a conflict, which for some is just another one, for others is a fulfillment of divine plan, a clear sign that something grand and definitive is unfolding. The Bible becomes a map, and current events, the landmarks that show us where we are on this journey. And what does this narrative of Gog and Magog mean for you, for your life, for your future? Does it make you think? Does it bring you a new perspective? Because, whether you believe in the prophecies or not, it's undeniable that the tension between Iran and Israel is no ordinary quarrel. It carries a weight that few others do, a weight of centuries of biblical histories and anticipation of the end times. So, with every news item about the Middle East, about the movements of Iran and Israel, stop and think. Am I seeing a prophecy fulfilled before my eyes? Is Gog and Magog, the story that seems so distant, becoming our reality now? The answer might be in the next headlines, in the next moves on this global chessboard, and perhaps in reading that ancient book awaiting you. And the curiosity only grows, doesn't it? What more does the Bible have to reveal to us about all this? What comes next? Stay tuned, because the story is far from over, and every minute could be crucial. And now, if you thought the tension was already at its limit, prepare for what's next, because what we are about to delve into is a scenario that, for many, has ceased to be mere speculation or an ancient interpretation, and has become a terrifying reality. Think carefully. If the events we just described already seem breathtaking, what would you say if I told you that in the very near future, specifically, on a day already marked on many calendars as a possible turning point, the global chessboard completely turn over? Imagine the scene, June 13th, 2025, a date that, for some, already echoes as a landmark. On that day, the entire world paused. It wasn't an earthquake, it wasn't a pandemic, but something that had been simmering for decades. Suddenly, the news exploded like a bomb across all networks. In all news reports, Israel launched a massive military offensive against Iran. It wasn't a small attack, a skirmish. It was something planned, powerful, with a clear objective: to destroy important Iranian nuclear facilities. Consider the shock, the audacity, the dimension of this move. Israel, once again, demonstrating its determination to defend itself, whatever the cost. Missiles crossing the skies, fighter jets, explosions that could be felt for miles. Iranian defenses were overwhelmed. Smoke rose to the heavens. What seemed impossible happened, but of course, in such a situation, retaliation was inevitable. Iran, with its fury and determination to strike back, did not delay, and the response was brutal, swift, and aimed at the heart of Israel. In a coordinated offensive, suicide missiles and a swarm of drones were launched against Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Sacred cities, population centers, symbols of the nation were targeted. Can you imagine the terror, the sirens, the desperation of people running for cover? Once vibrant streets were transformed into scenes of destruction, the shouts of warning mixed with cries of pain. There are dead, there are wounded, homes turned inside out, buildings engulfed in flames, life turning to dust in a matter of seconds. The images are shocking. The accounts of those who lived through it are blood-curdling. The ground of Israel, once again, stained red. And it is in this moment of chaos, pain, and global uncertainty that the question boiling in the minds of millions explodes with uncontrollable force. Are we witnessing fulfillment of Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39? If just hearing about prophecies and the end time sends shivers down your spine, know that this isn't a question from madmen or conspiracy theorists. It's a question echoing in churches, synagogues, and Bible study groups around the world. Because these chapters of the Bible, which seem so distant and mysterious, suddenly gain terrifying clarity in light of what happened on June 13th, 2025. The Bible, which has always been a compass for many, now seems to be pointing directly to the Middle East as a stage of war. It describes in detail a massive invasion of Israel by a coalition of nations led by Gog, from the land of Magog, which for many scholars is a clear reference to territories that today include Iran and its allies. It's not a coincidence. It cannot be just a coincidence. Some will say, this invasion, according to the biblical histories of Ezekiel, would come at a specific time, a time when Israel would be living in relative peace, gathered back to its land after centuries of dispersion, a time when the surrounding peoples, with covetousness in their hearts, would decide to come against the unwalled land, to take great spoil. The description in Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39 is so vivid that, for anyone following the news on June 13th, 2025, the scene seems to have leapt from the pages of the Bible onto the television screen. The way this prophecy details the motivations, alliances, troop movements, and even the divine retaliation that would come in response to this final attack against Israel is what leaves millions of people astounded. It's not just a war that's shocking. It's the feeling that we are reading a script written over 2 millennia ago that is now unfolding before our eyes, frame by frame. The events of June 13th, 2025, with the Israeli offensive and Iranian retaliation, with a trigger, the spark that ignited the flame of the question, is this the beginning of what Ezekiel foresaw? Was the destruction of Iranian nuclear facilities by Israel the decisive step that provoked the wrath described in the prophecies, setting Gog's armies in motion? Many argue yes, that Gog's arrogance in rising against Israel has a direct link to the escalation of aggressions we are witnessing. The way nations are described in the Bible aligning against Israel seems to mirror the alliances and tensions we observe in the Middle East today. It's a high-stakes game, and the pieces seem to be moving exactly as the biblical histories suggest. So, while the rubble still smolders in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and anger and mourning grip the nation, the question about Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39 is not just academic curiosity. It's a search for answers, for a greater meaning amidst a tragedy. It's an attempt to understand if we are on the verge of something that transcends politics, that transcends history, and that leads us directly to the final scenario of the end times as the Bible describes it. With each new development, with each new piece of news from the war in the Middle East, the feeling that time is running out and that ancient words are coming to life only intensifies. And we can't stop asking, if these events in 2025 are the beginning of the fulfillment, what else does the Bible have to tell us about what comes next? What are the next moves in this millennial-old drama? Curiosity has got you, hasn't it? And what will Gog and Magog do now, after the retaliation? And who are they, after all, according to the prophecies? We're going to tell you everything. Don't go anywhere. Attention! Because the story we are telling here is like a book being written before our eyes, and each paragraph, each sentence, is more electrifying than the last. If you were shocked by what happened on June 13th, 2025, Israel's offensive against Iran, the brutal retaliation that left Jerusalem and Tel Aviv in rubble, and the echoing question, are we witnessing fulfillment of Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39? Then prepare to go deeper, because now we will reveal in even more shocking detail how this war in the Middle East is not just politics, not just a border conflict. It is a piece of a much larger puzzle, a plan that, for millions, is already outlined in an ancient book. Let's recap the intensity of those days. Imagine the horror of Israeli families taking shelter as Iranian missiles rained down on their homes. The sky cut by suicide drones, the deafening sound of explosions, the smell of smoke and destruction. Hospitals overcrowded, rescue teams racing against time to save lives. The tears, the mourning, the rage. This was not a simple attack. It was an open declaration of war, an escalation of violence that many feared, but few imagined would be so swift and devastating. Life in Israel was never the same after that day, and the whole world felt the tremor. But what makes these events even more chilling is how they fit almost perfectly into the prophecies of the Bible. We are not talking about vague predictions or guesswork. We're talking about ancient texts written over 2,500 years ago that detail with astonishing precision who will be involved in this final conflict against Israel and why. Think with me. The Bible mentions Persia. And what is Persia today? It is Iran. Yes, the same Iran that just attacked Israel with missiles and drones. For scholars of biblical histories, this is no coincidence. Persia is cited in various prophecies as a key player in the end times, a central actor on the global stage that would turn against Israel. And now, we see this prophecy unfolding before our eyes, with Iran assuming this role in an undeniable and bloody way. The enemy named in Ezekiel is, literally, in the spotlight, or rather, in the headlines. But it doesn't stop there. The Bible also speaks of Magog. Who would Magog be? This is one of the most intriguing pieces of the prophetic puzzle. For many, the identification of Magog points directly to Russia. Yes, Russia, the northern power, with its growing influence and strategic interests extending throughout the Middle East. If you follow international news, you know that Russia has strengthened ties with Iran, with Syria, and with other nations in the region. They are there, present, moving their pieces on the global chessboard. And the most shocking thing is that the Bible describes an alliance between Magog, Russia, and Persia, Iran, along with other peoples. It's not just Iran acting alone. It's a coalition, a group of nations that would unite with a common purpose, to come against Israel. And what do we see today? Every day, geopolitical alliances in the Middle East and surrounding areas seem to form exactly as the prophecies described. Countries like Turkey, Sudan, and Libya, for example, are frequently mentioned by scholars as part of this confederation of nations that would rise in the end times against the Jewish nation. It's as if an ancient script were being followed to the letter. The characters were named millennia ago, and now, in the 21st century, they are taking their places on stage. The destruction of Iranian nuclear facilities by Israel on June 13, 2025, and the violent retaliation by Iran were the spark that many believe ignited this prophecy on a large scale. It was a clear sign that the nations described in the Bible are not just observing each other. They are in open conflict. Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39 detail this invasion. The motivation of Magog and its allies to come against Israel, the intention to plunder and loot the possessions of a nation that, after being gathered back to his land after centuries of exile, would be prospering. For scholars, Israel's natural resources and advanced technology would be a lure. It's not difficult to connect these points with the current scenario, where Israel's wealth and innovation are evident, and the covetousness of regional powers is palpable. The question is no longer whether there is a relationship between the events and the prophecies. For many, the relationship is undeniable, frighteningly clear. Iran attacking Israel is Persia acting as the Bible predicted. The Russia, with its presence and influence, is the Magog that many expected, and the other geopolitical actors aligning with them, creating this massive coalition against Israel, are the final pieces that confirm we are seeing a biblical event materialize. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is an analysis that combines news facts with biblical histories, and the result is a narrative that hooks you, that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the world. Are we living in a unique moment in human history, where the past, present, and future meet on the pages of the Bible? Could what seemed to be just a distant story suddenly be our own story, the prelude to the end times? With each news item about this war, with each movement of troops, missiles, drones, the feeling that we are watching a movie whose script was written millennia ago intensifies. And the director of this movie, for many, is the biblical prophecy itself. The exactness with which these events are aligning is what makes the question, has it already begun, resonate with such force. So, when you see the news about Iran and Israel, about Russia and its relations with these countries, it's no longer just politics. It's a window into what many believe to be the unfolding divine plan. The shocking details of the attacks, the pain, the destruction, all of this gains even deeper meaning when viewed through the lens of prophecies. And the curiosity only grows. What are the next steps of this alliance? And what does the Bible say about the outcome of this confrontation? How will Israel react to this offensive? And what does this mean for the end times? This is an urgent message for everyone. This is not a time to sleep. It's a time to pray, watch, and discern. Jesus said, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but the end is not yet, for this is only the beginning of the birth pains." Matthew chapter 24, verses 6 to 8. If you've made it this far, it's because curiosity has gripped you, and the gravity of the facts we're uncovering won't let you look away. We've delved into the shocking details of Israel's attack on Iran, the Iranian retaliation that left cities like Jerusalem and Tel Aviv in panic and destruction. And what's more, we've analyzed how these biblical histories of Persia, Iran, and Magog, Russia, seem to fit perfectly into the prophecies of Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39, with other geopolitical actors aligning exactly as the Bible predicted over 2,500 years ago. But now, it's time to go beyond analysis and shock. It's time to speak directly to you, to everyone listening. Because if everything we've just shown points to a scenario as grand and ancient as humanity itself, then the message that follows is more than urgent. This is an urgent message for everyone. Don't think that what's happening in the Middle East is something distant, that it doesn't affect you. If the prophecies of the Bible are unfolding before our eyes, if Israel is the world's prophetic clock, then what happens, it will eventually impact everyone. And that's why we need to be clear. This is not a time to sleep. You know, life is busy. Work, bills, family, daily life. It's easy to get lost in routine and ignore the signs. Close your eyes to what's happening in the world, or simply dismiss it as just another bad news story. But when the biblical histories that describe the end times begin to materialize, indifference can be a luxury we cannot afford. The Bible, this book found in homes, on nightstands, but often remaining closed, now more than ever, becomes a key to understanding the present and envisioning the future. It warns us, prepares us, gives us a map. And it is on this map that Jesus, the central figure for billions of people, left a clear warning. He said, and the words resonate with incredible power today, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but the end is not yet, for this is only the beginning of the birth pains." Matthew chapter 24, verses 6 to 8. Listen carefully, because this phrase isn't just an ancient verse. It's an x-ray of our time. Wars and rumors of wars. Isn't that exactly what we're seeing? Iran's attack against Israel, escalating tensions, the imminent conflict that could drag in other nations. It's not just one war. It's a series of conflicts and threats spreading across the globe. And what Jesus said next is even more impactful. But the end is not yet, for this is only the beginning of the birth pains. Think carefully about this expression, the beginning of the birth pains. Like labor pains, which start weak, spaced out, and then intensify, becoming more frequent and stronger until birth. It's as if the events we are witnessing, the attacks on Israel, the prophetic alliances, the escalation of violence in the Middle East, are the first contractions, the beginning of an inevitable, painful process that leads to a final destiny, which is the end times and what the Bible describes next. This means that for those who follow the prophecies, what happened on June 13th, 2025, and what is to come is not an end in itself. It is a sign, a flashing red alert. It is an invitation not to remain inert, not to merely watch, but to engage in a deeper and more meaningful way. It is a time to pray for peace in Israel, to pray for the victims, to pray for leaders, to pray for discernment. To pray because, for many, prayer is the most powerful force that exists, capable of moving mountains and intervening in seemingly hopeless scenarios. It is a time to watch. Watch what? Watch the news, yes, but with a different lens. Observe geopolitical movements, alliances, leaders' declarations, and compare them with what is written in the Bible. Pay attention to the signs, to the unfolding of the prophecies, especially those involving Israel and the Middle East. Don't be fooled by empty narratives, but seek the truth, and it is a time to discern. Discern between what is noise and what is truly significant. Discern the voice of the Bible amidst so much clamor. Understand that the world is not spinning aimlessly, that there's a purpose, a plan, and that we are experiencing a crucial chapter of that plan. Biblical histories are not just ancient legends. They are, for millions, the living word manifesting in our reality. And the conflict between Iran and Israel, the pieces of the Gog and Magog puzzle falling into place, Jesus' words about the beginning of the birth pains. All this leads us to one single conclusion. We are living in unprecedented times. What the Bible reveals to us about Israel and the end times is not to cause panic, but to awaken, to rouse us from passivity and call us to action, be it spiritual, educational, or preparative. We can no longer ignore the signs. The ancient words have come to life. So, while the world wonders what comes next, while political commentators try to predict the next steps, you, with your eyes open to the Bible and the prophecies, know that the answer might have been written millennia ago. The urgency is real. The time is now. And curiosity only grows. What do these birth pains truly mean? And what does the Bible reveal to us about what happens after the beginning of the birth pains? Don't miss the next chapter of this journey that is changing the world. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, share, and may God bless your day and your life. Stay with God.